Hey, shalom, shalom. We want to say all praises be to Abba Noah, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Harakapadash. Double honors to the apostles, was upon them of great millstone and well. Shalom to the sincere brethren. I came out there across the four winds, the four corners of the globe, pushing the truth, the good news of Yahweh Shai, proclaiming salvation to the elect of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. I'm proclaiming the downfall of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, and his wicked empire. So this video is going to be based upon what you see on the screen, which you have this Jake, I forgot his name, but this light-skinned Jake on camera. He's one of the Jakes responsible for killing the rapper Julio Fulio down there in Florida. And him and his cohorts, they recently got convicted, I think maybe like 2 months ago, a month ago, maybe like 2 months ago, to life in prison down there in Florida for the murder of Julio Fulio, man, the Florida rapper, if you're familiar with who that guy is, man. But nonetheless, the reason why they didn't get the death penalty was because one of the wardens down there in Florida, he was like, no, because this Jake on screen is 20 years old. So the warden was like, yo, no, we need that sweat equity, man. Basically, we need these Jakes, I think it was like 4 of them, 4 Jakes, to serve life sentences instead of the death penalty because we need the sweat equity. Basically, we need slaves, man. We need slaves in the prison system, man. You understand? We need them out there picking oranges, picking fruits. You know what I mean? Basically, back in slavery, back on the plantation, man. Like you see on the right side of the screen, with which this is a real picture as well of Jakes in prison. I think that this is Angola prison down there in Louisiana. You have Jakes in prison with an Edomite on a horseman, which that's biblical and that's scriptural, man. Which this whole situation is scriptural and biblical, and it's the curses that have befallen the children of Israel in these last days and times, especially here in America, man. So this is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, because the Jake ain't hearkening, man. Even unto this day, because they some grimy ass niggas, man. Yeah, you have some innocent Jakes in jail and prison, but a lot of Jakes, I would dare to say the majority of niggas in prison and jail, they're a bunch of grimy ass niggas, man. Like that nigga on the screen, the light skinned dude, he committed murder, man. You understand? What they would call capital murder, man. You understand? But instead of doing what Esau's supposed to do, you really just belongs putting. If you're a murderer, you belongs being put to death, man. But Esau have this system of giving motherfuckers 25 to life or 20 years to life. Hey, some people even get off with murder, man. Showing you that Esau's system is all corrupt and befuddled with madness, man. Because really, if you commit murder, you convicted of that, you belongs put to death, man. Not put in slavery like they did with this Jake right here. He's currently in slavery down there in Florida, man. Giving up that sweat equity. You understand? But that's the curses, man. That's the curses. Which the dude, and there was a lot of videos being made. Like this is one of the videos. This is a YouTuber reacting to what the warden said about this Jake. He like, no, don't put him to death. We need that nigga for sweat equity, man. We need him in slavery. We need slaves, man. Like what you see on the right hand side with a bunch of Jakes on a plantation with an Edomite on a horseman, which is happening to this day, which is constitutional, man. What is it, the 13th Amendment or something like that, where you can be, the one way to become a slave in America, so to say, is by committing a crime, man. By going to jail or prison, you become a slave, man. You understand? And it ain't a coincidence. Who's the majority of people in jail? What is it? Over 1 million Israelites in jail. I think 1 million, really 1 million Southern Kingdom, and then probably the next million Northern Kingdom, man, of you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You understand? So I'm gonna get a precept on that right now, because the scriptures tell you about Jake being caught up in this prison system. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. Talking about the Israelites, they are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses, kind of snared in holes, snared in these different ideologies and philosophies, even these different gangs, these different criminal organizations that Jake is in, that caused him to go to prison, and snared by the so-called black woman Because that's another reason why Jake all up in the prison system over women. You understand? They are hidden prison houses. God. So Jake is all up in the prison system. And really, America is a big prison when you think about it on a grand scale. But applying to this situation, Jake is hidden in them prison houses, man. Jake is what keeping the military, sorry, not the military, the prison industrial complex going, man. It's all centered around you so-called young black men and young Hispanic men being in prison, man. And there's a multitude of studies, man. There's all type of college courses on the prison industrial complex. How I know? Because I took those courses when I was in so-called college, man. The different how the prison industrial complex works, man, and how it targets so-called black and Hispanic communities, man. And that remains true on today's day. You understand? As it ain't by coincidence that Jake is a majority in prison, is by design, so to speak. But you niggas, you add to that by falling into that design, by giving into that ignorance and a demonic energy, man. The gangs, the drugs, you know what I mean? The niggardry, man. But Esau is still to blame same way, because he allows that shit to happen. Because Esau could clean up the hood overnight, but Esau wants the hood to be the hood, man, because he wants our people destroyed. They are for a prey, because this nigga is for a prey, man. And none deliver it for a spoil and none say it restore. So Jake is for a prey. Jake as a whole, the Israelite nation as a whole, especially you Jakes in that prison, man. Prison system, you become a slave all over, man. You wanna be a thug, a gangster, or maybe you might even be innocent, but you get caught up, so-called innocent, but you get caught up in that system. Why? Because we are for a prey and none deliver it. Which really America, like I said, is a big prison system, because ultimately we all slaves, man. But that's just like in the prison system and in the jail, that's like the worst type of slavery you could so-called be in these times, man. That's like going back to the time of hardcore slavery, so to speak. So the closest that you're gonna get to that, man, because it still ain't as bad as that. But nonetheless, the closest that you're gonna get to being actual physical slave, being told what to do, all type of restrictions, is in the prison industrial complex, in the prison system. Which you have brothers that have been through that, man, and they came out on the other side. They could speak to that, but they came out on the other side, man, and the Lord was with them through that time in their life, man, because ultimately they were the men of the Lord. Yeah, so if you've been to prison or jail, it don't make you, or you are right off. No, you just learn from that, man, and you understand, like, oh, I went through that because of the curses, so on and so forth. We're back in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes that I command you this day, kind of Jake, that the majority of Jake that gets locked up, they're not doing that. They're not observing the Lord's statutes and commandments. They're doing wickedness, man. Just like he committed capital murder, man. And his statutes which I command you this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So Jake is overtaken by the curses, man. That's why we're the so-called minority, but we're the majority in the prison system. That's a full-fledged curse upon all people. I'm going to jump down to verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. So that's Jake. Jake as a whole, even outside in the free world, especially when you're locked up in there, man, you have to go before your enemies, man, the so-called white man, because that's the majority of the prison guards, so on and so forth. And really, they run the system. The wardens are more than likely Edomites, man. And now you are there, you are straight up slave to them, man. You understand? At least on the outside world, you have a little bit more maneuverability, but in the prison system, you all the way through. And there's countless cases of Jake's being beat to death in that prison system. Jake's being starved. Jake's being poisoned. Jake's being set up to get killed by other inmates, so on and so forth, man. So that's not a place you want to be. But but Jake fall into them curses. You know what I mean? Jake in them curses. Jake fall into those curses.
Working directly with them.
And fall into the curses, and the Lord ain't with them. So now they're locked up, man. And they're a slave for perpetuity. Like this guy, he's a slave for life, bitch. He a slave until the missiles fly, man. You know what I mean? An actual slave until the missiles fly, man. You don't want to be in that, man. Really, his holy hope is repenting and coming back to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, but hey, it ain't looking too good, man. But who knows, man? But ultimately, you don't want to be in that predicament, man. But Jake embraced these different death styles, man. Like I said, gang banging, drug dealing. You understand? Being a nigga, being a ninja. And that's where that gets you, man. Because the majority of Jakes in the prison system is under that ninja mentality, man. That street ninja mentality, man. You understand? But I'll qualify it and say, yeah, you have some so-called innocent Jakes there. But ultimately, the Lord's with you. Like I said, you have brothers who've been through that. And you're going to come up out of that, man. The Lord going to deliver you from that, man. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Come. So Jake is totally destroyed. That's why Jake killing one another. That's another part of the curse is your eyes shall be evil towards your brother. Let me jump to that. Deuteronomy 28 and 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of the children, which he shall lead. Come. So toward his own people, man. That's why Jake, that's the saying of what? Black and black crime, man. You understand? Because the majority of Jakes locked up for doing dirt, doing wickedness against their own people, man. That's the curses right there. Let me read that again. Deuteronomy 28, verse 54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Come. The whole single parent, single motherhood, so on and so forth. Single parent families, so on and so forth. Because that's another thing. I think it's like 90% of Jakes that is in prison, they were raised by a single mother, man. They were raised up under the black woman or the Puerto Rican woman, man. Which is a recipe for disaster, man. You're all emotional, bugged out. You know what I mean? You don't have that manly, masculine, you might be manly and masculine on the outside, but you don't have the manly, masculine mindset, man. You're emotional. You're easily triggered. And most of the time, you know, because you watch a lot of these different Jakes who've been to prison, they tell you, man, it is a split decision, man, that caused Jake to be locked up for 20, 30 years, man. 5 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, man. Where if they was raised by a man and not by a woman, man, they would have let that fly and fuck that, man. Dude said I ain't going to shoot him. Dude stepped on my shoes, I ain't going to shoot him. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to do that. I ain't going to do this. I ain't going to act so quickly. I'm not going to make haste in the time of trouble, or in a time of high emotion. I ain't gonna make haste. I ain't gonna act stupidly, man. But Jake acts stupidly, man. These different gangs, stupid shit, man. Beefing over they don't know what. And this Jake, he got caught up in that because it was a whole gang warfare, man, with these Jakes, man. And now you serving life in prison, and the caveat is he's 20 years old, man. So he's a poster boy, man, of the curses, man. Deuteronomy 28, man. And Jake still being in slavery, Jake being evil toward each other. You know what I mean? Jake being back in slavery. The oppression of the so-called white man system. You know what I mean? He's a clear example of what the curses look like for so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So-called young black Hispanic men here in America. He's a poster boy of what the curses look like, man. You know what I mean? Killed another Jake at 20 years old. Now serving life in prison, being a slave to the so-called white man in his prison industrial complex, man. Now you're gonna be picking oranges and bananas, working in sweatshops, you know what I mean? Ducking other Jakes trying to take him out in the prison system. That's a whole different world, man. That whole prison system, man. And the stories that come out, man. These different Jakes that have been up in there, that shit is basically ancient world gladiator school. That's what they used to call Rikers Island, man, here in New York. Gladiator school. Jake just being vicious and demonic towards each other, man. And you would think in that system Jake would have some type of unity, but Jake just become more demonic most of the time in that prison system, man. More grimy toward each other, man. You understand? So it's just a big bowl of confusion. There ain't no rehabilitation about it. And it's all because the so-called white man set it up that way, man. He wants you to wax worse and worse in that system, man. You know what I mean? He want the worst of you, man. He want to keep you there. He want more Jakes to come into that system, man. That's why we have to say, brother, as brothers, sisters out here in the truth, man, we have to say, to what Yahweh Shemi Yahweh for this truth, man. Because the only time that we should be going to prison or jail is for the sake of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, not over some stupid shit, man. You know what I mean? Not over killing another Jake for a color, for a gang. You know what I mean? For selling drugs now. We're not involved in none of that, man. So we're not going to be caught up in none of that. If you're going to go to prison or jail, it's going to be for honorable, man. If you're going to get put to death, it have to be for honorable circumstances, man. You know what I mean? Scripture speak about the martyrs of Yahweh Shai. That's the breath that we want to be spoken in, man. We don't want to go to prison for a gang, a color, over a woman, over a dice game. None of that, man. We want to go, if we have to do that, it's going to be for the sake of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, man. You understand? So yeah, the curses are there, but hey, we have the hedge from the curses through the power and the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai in respect to certain things like this, man. Like, we're not going to kill another, our eyes ain't going to be evil toward another Jake to kill him and get caught up in this, man. So, through the power and the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, the Lord gave us the spirit to maneuver around a lot of the curses, man. Yeah, we still under the curses, being here in Babylon, so on and so forth, but we're not going to kill another Jake out of ignorance, man. You understand? We have a family, we're going to do what we got to do. We're not going to leave our children, so on and so forth. You understand? We're not going to be serving other gods and philosophies, man. We're not going to allow our woman to rule over us, so on and so forth. But that's to the power and the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Because if we wasn't in this truth, we could be caught up in those curses, man. Having your woman rule over you, you know what I mean? Caught up in the prison system, you know what I mean? Worshipping white Jesus. Nah, we out of that, man. Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai took us out of that madness, that mess, man. And it's cleaning us up, man. Lord's will we able to receive salvation. We don't have to be caught up on no prison plantation, picking oranges and fruits with an Edomite. Basically back in the ancient world, man. Not the ancient world. You basically back in the time of slavery, man. Like those Jake on the right hand side, man. You basically back in the time of slavery. You know what I mean? An Edomite on a horse and you on a plantation picking fruits and vegetables, man. And it's because you made stupid decisions, man. Because you chose not to serve Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai when you had the chance. Let me get that real quick. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, verse 7. I have seen servants upon horses. So there you have it. You have an Edomite, you know what I mean, upon a horse. I've seen servants upon horses, which the Edomites are the real servants. And I have seen, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. God, so it ain't this was made. This is a picture perfect for this scripture right here. Let me read it again. I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. God, now you see them Jakes. You're looking up at the Edomite like, damn, you done fucked up. That one Jake, man. A bunch of it ain't one Edomite, man. It ain't one Edomite walking, man. You know what I mean? And then the dude on the horse is an Edomite, man. Not one Edomite on the so-called the earth walking. And it says princes walking as servants upon the earth. And they're servants, man. They ain't slavery, man. So you gonna tell me we're not the people, man? Man, this is like, it's like so perfect. It's almost unbelievable. Like they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, man. And I didn't even plan to have this specific picture up, man. It just happened that it worked that way, man. You have the Jake that got convicted, life in prison. He about to join them niggas, them Jakes that's in slavery, man. That's exhibited Ecclesiastes 10 and 7, man. Hey, but with that, hope this lesson was edifying. I'm going to say all praises be to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Harikapadash, the honors to the apostles, those Aquanium of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to the elect.